just walk down the memory lane and imagine that you have arranged a party after your examination within the university or in your college. Now you're asking your friends, can I invite the others for the party as well? And without much hesitation, your friends say, yes, you may. And at the back of your mind, that you have this your favorite teacher that you wanted to invite for the party. And you invite your teacher. And all of a sudden, when the friends arrive at the party, your teacher is also there. Then the friends started to talk with each other. Why did the teacher come into the party? And one of the friends come to you and ask, why did you invite the teacher? Because there are a lot of things that we could have enjoyed, we could have a party, but with the presence of the teacher, some of our flexibility is restricted. Then you say, didn't I tell you that I'm going to invite the others? Oh, we didn't think that others means a teacher. Welcome to Mindful Contract Administrator. Sometimes the English literal meaning of a word can be confused when you use it within a standard form of a contract. This is the same thing which has happened within the FIDIC form of contract when you use the word others. I will give you a very comprehensive example in this regard. In the variation clause of FIDIC Red Book, there is a clause related to the omission of the works. Is omission a requirement within a contract? Yes, in certain cases. Suppose that you have decided to build an apartment which is very closer to another apartment, and all of a sudden the government comes and say the fire regulations have changed, that you have to keep a more gap between the two buildings. So in order to maintain that more gap, either you have to shift the building or you have to reduce or omit a strip of the building, which may be an omission to the works. With the fact that you have a very confined space, you observe that you cannot shift the building. Therefore, you have to omit a strip of the building by doing a lot of shuffling within the interiors of the building. So this is a pure omission, which is a result of a law change in the regulation, which is a necessity of doing. Therefore, this sort of a omission is unavoidable. Therefore, it is required for the completion of the works. Let's take another example. Suppose you decided to build a guardhouse at the top of the apartment that you are going to build. But all of a sudden you realize that it obstructs the view of the CEO of a next building, your adjacent building. The CEO's nice view has been obstructed by this particular guardhouse. Therefore, you are compelled to omit that part of the guardhouse and you decide to incorporate that somewhere within the building. Therefore, physically, you are omitting that particular guardhouse because the right of light is a statutory requirement, is a right of a citizen, which has not been foreseen at the time of getting the approval of the building. So, in either case, you have to omit the works. But how ethical is the omission as far as the contractor is concerned? So, if you walk down the memory lane once again, in 1977, when FIDIC introduced the variation clause, they did not impose the necessity and appropriateness for the omission of the works. If you see the preamble of the 1977 version of the variation clause. However, it says the engineer has the right to omit any such work. Now, if you take the English literal meaning of the omission, it means that you are excluding something. You are leaving something out of the scope. but it does not mean that you can give it to another person. Unfortunately, this particular term itself, which says the engineer has the authority to omit any such work, does not give the specific reference to the fact that you can give it to, you can or you cannot give it to another party. Therefore, FIDIC 1987 version identified that we need to include something else in order to give a more comprehensive meaning to the omission. Then FIDIC introduced, engineer can omit any such work, but it is not to be carried out by the employer or the other contractors. What do you mean by other? There is a question mark. Then when it comes to the FIDIC 1999 version, it says the engineer can omit any such work unless it is to be carried out by the others. Again, the others comes into play. Now, the newest version of FIDIC Red Book 2017 says engineer can omit any such work unless it is to be carried out by the others with the agreement of the parties. What does that mean? That means there needs to be a supplementary agreement to the contract that if you are omitting such work and giving it to another party without the consent of the contractor, you cannot assign that omitted work to another party during the contract period or outside the contract period. Now, what do you mean by others? There is no defined term within FIDIC Red Book to define others. Now, this is where the other forms of contract, such as new engineering contract, will benefit you. This is a complementary helping technique that if you use what is the English literal meaning of the word others and how it is being used in the context of the construction contracts. Others is a defined term in NEC type of contracts. It says everyone, which is excluding the stakeholders of the project. It talks about the client because NEC 4 has supplanted the word employer with the word client. It talks about the project manager, which is very similar to the engineer in FIDIC Red Book, and contractor, subcontractors, his suppliers as well. So others means excluding all these people. Therefore, someone who didn't have a touch within this contract, someone who has not been involved within this contract, can be defined as others. But can it be used in FIDIC 2017 version? This is a very important question, because when you sign a contract, if there is no defined term for a particular word, you cannot refer to another contract. You cannot refer to another standard form of a contract saying in this particular contract this word has been defined, therefore we have to use the same definition. It is detrimental to the fact that you are giving the correct definition at the tender stage for the contractor to price, because he is not supposed to look into all the other forms of contract anywhere within the world. Now, coming back to the FIDIC 2017 version, it says the engineer can omit any such work if it is not to be done by another party unless there is an agreement between the parties. So, FIDIC 1987 version defined others in a different way. It says it should not be done by the employer and it should not be done by the other contractors. However, FIDIC 1999 version and 2017 versions does not define who the others are. But if you take the English literal meaning of the word others, it is very much in line with what has been mentioned within the NEC type of contracts. So there may be certain disputes which can come up when there is a term like that. But however, if you compare FIDIC 1999 version and FIDIC 2017 versions, there is more clarity in 2017 version, because it gives the flexibility to the parties. If there is any sort of an omission, whether it is to be carried out can be decided by the parties to the contract, which has been expressly mentioned within the FIDIC 2017 version. Now, there is another aspect into this one. Can the engineer omit any such work at the whim and fancy of his own decision. It is not, because most of the court cases pertaining to the word omission has been decided as omission means leaving out or excluding, but it does not mean that you can give it to another party. Therefore, the English literal meaning of the words such as omission is also of paramount importance in comprehending the contract. Therefore, my suggestion, the word omission can become a defined term in future versions of FIDIC Red Book, which will give you more clarity, which will give you more robust set of conditions of contract without ambiguities. Thank you.